Okay, there it is. There it is. So our vision here is awakening personal transformation. So I hope you all are ready. And our mission is teaching tools for positive change. So I especially want to welcome any of you who are here for the very first time. If you are, this is our newcomer goddess this morning, who also happens to be our president and our staff minister. If you would just raise your hand if you're here for the first time, and we have a little packet for you. There's somebody right there next to Brent. What a good choice you made, right next to Brent. Anybody else? Welcome. We hope you feel right at home. So this is what we're about all year, creating a world that works for everyone. And so that is literally what we are about. From where our heart is, expanding out that energy that would include every single person standing, which we have 5 Sunday He is a singer-songwriter, as you know. He's also an artist. This is his painting on the altar. Is that amazing? That's so fabulous. And he's a poet, and now he is an author of his very first big book, I call it. And so we celebrate this today. This is the international launch of Tao of Music. And I think there is enough copies for all of you to take one home today. But so it's a very provocative title, and it includes the word Tao. And Janet also used that word in her opening prayer. So I want to talk a little bit about what I understand the Tao to be. It comes out of Chinese philosophy. And it postulates that the intuitive knowing of life, really grokking life, can't be done if you try to confine it to a concept. I can't talk about the Tao and have you get it, but you can live it. That's the point. The Tao is to be lived. It is most closely translated as the way or the path. And Lao Tzu, who was a Chinese philosopher, wrote the Tao Te Ching, I don't know how many eons ago. Anybody know how many eons ago? Long, long ago. And it contains truth. It contains truth just like every single religion and wisdom tradition contains truth. And because our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, read widely in all religions and brought them together in this very usable way that we have in Science of Mind, you know, the Tao is very user-friendly with us. And so it's a wonderful way to look at life because each one of us has our own path. And when we find it, we're happy. You know, what a concept. We're at peace. Life makes sense when we're living as we should on our path. Other words for that are our mission, our purpose in life, those kinds of things, which we talk about all the time. And the message is the same. The message is, if you're on purpose, you're happy. If you are living the life that you took birth to live, I mean, you didn't arrive here just by accident. You didn't have nothing to do when you took a body. Here you are, an immortal being, before you come into this earth plane, and you're an immortal being now, and you're an immortal being after you let go of your body. But here with your body, You got a path. And if you're on the path, it all works well. So this is the title of my talk, The Tao, Living from One Guiding Principle. And everybody's guiding principle is unique. It's yours. Bodhi's is music, and yours is something, and mine is something. And it's living by that one principle that moves us to do everything. It holds our passion, it holds our path, and for Bodhi, it's music. So throughout his book, he expresses how he finds music in everything. And it serves as an example to us, for us to be able to find music in everything. He finds it in nature, in dreams, in machines, in silence. And actually, I'll come over here and do this. I tried it. And what I found is that this note right here is where Zeus meows. This is his meow, meow, meow. Then this is his pathetic meow. So we have the hello meow, we have the pathetic meow, and I was trying out if I could live the Tao of music. That's about as far as I got. But I get it. I get it. So for others, us, it can be anything. It can be empowering those around you. It can be creating beauty. It can be establishing peace. Your guiding principle can be cooking. It can be cats. It can be math. It can be dance. It can be anything. Most of you know that I had a career, more than a decade-long career selling college textbooks, and it's really, really easy to see the Tao of the professors because they followed their passion to become a professor of their subject. I mean, they don't have to do anything else but think about and talk about their subject. And so they're, pretty myopic, So like the political scientists, they see all of life as power grabs. And relationships, everything. Honestly, this is true. And the psychologists think of everything, all of life, as mental activity and how that outpictures. And the economists actually live about assigning value to things. That would drive me crazy to be a part of an economist's life, and I have my place in the value structure. But I did date a chemist, and the chemists are really myopic. They see every single thing as a chemical experience or equation or explosion or whatever. And so things are delicious because of food chemistry, and you behave because of your brain chemistry, and you like each other because of those pheromone chemical things that attract you. That's him. That was Ron Vaughn, bless his heart. So the Tao, Bodhi's book, The Tao of Music, is about how to live on your path. What you find out is how Bodhi lives on his path, but by example and by these little prompts for you to, every single chapter has a prompt for you to look at your own life, and that's what we're going to do this morning as we talk about this. So Bodhi talks about music, and then he gets to a life principle. So we're going to talk about the life principle and then how it works for you, okay? It's going to be a fun Sunday. So I'm going to go through the sections of the table of contents because it sort of creates a map of how to walk your path. So this is, that's Bodhi's book. I didn't go over these images. Okay, here we go. Living from One Guiding Principle. All right, here we are. So the first thing that you do is you awaken to your principle. And in Bodhi's book, this section is called Awakening to the Path. This is the path. This is the Tao for you. It's what illumines your heart and mind. It's the path through which we give our gifts. And as I said, there is a path for each of us. And actually, I want to delve right into the science of mind. This is the way Ernest writes about it. Let us daily say to ourselves, he says on 185. So this is the quote. This is what we say to ourselves every day. Perfect God within me. Perfect life within me, which is God. Come forth into expression through me as that which I am. Lead me ever into the paths of perfection and cause me to see only the good. By this practice, the soul will become illumined and will acquaint itself with God and be at peace. Isn't that just the best? When you are on your path, you continually acquaint yourself with God and recreate peace for yourself. So in order to find our path, and it changes sometimes through our life. We finish a path and we master a path and we go on to another path. So we ask for spiritual guidance and we receive it, and then that's our responsibility to follow it. So we're right there in the groove of the theme for this month, getting spiritual guidance and then following it and taking responsibility for that. So you're going to find your path, your tribe, and you find it by asking yourself, what do you love? Your path is not something that's going to be important to you, believe me. It's something that fascinates you. And it's the guiding principle when you find it. It's the guiding principle that informs your choices and your perception and your decisions. So Bodhi writes that I'm going to read to you the very first paragraph of the very first essay, and it's so sweet. Listening to the rhythmic patterns of raindrops on the roof as I wake in the morning, I realize that nature is infinitely creative in the ways it expresses itself, and it's all musical. And so he goes and talks about that for a while and then concludes this essay with, as each individual, this is the invitation for all of us, realizes and awakens to their own music, the whole universe aligns itself in perfect balance. There is a unity within the diversity. The world unfolds as a dynamic and dramatic interspecies musical. So that's how Bodhi sees the world, a dynamic interspecies musical. Now, for some of us, it could be a tapestry. Life could be a tapestry. For some, it could be a puzzle. For some of us, it could be an equation. So I thought about what it is for me. I thought about it a lot this week, and I actually thought that the guiding principle in my life right now is the maypole dance. And because it's connecting, it's entwined, it's earthy, it asks for the ancestors' participation. And so I kind of like that. I see all of life as a maypole dance. But whatever yours is, find it and serve it. That's what getting on the path is about. Finding your guiding principle and serving it. Okay, you got that? All right, let's go to the next one. This is becoming useful. Once you're on your path, you become useful. This section in Bodhi's book is called On the Path. And this one is pretty simple. I mean, he has several essays in here, but basically you're on the path and you practice. You do it. You're on your path, you do your guiding principle. And as you do your guiding principle, as you live it, you become useful. And you just keep doing it. That's it. This is what Bodhi says. Find what you love to do and keep doing it. Do it from love, and your way, your Tao of music will be revealed. This is why we practice for self-fulfillment first and performance second. And because he's talking about music, he's talking about performance, but we would also say that's our work. You know, we practice for self-fulfillment, and then we do the work for the world. Practicing for the love of your craft brings great joy, and your joy will naturally enhance your performance and be sensed by those who experience your work. So we do the work for us, but it ends up being doing the work for the world, which is a lovely pattern. It's the way life on earth is made, okay? So your work that you practice should be intensely pleasurable. That's one of the ways you know that you're on your path. So my own son, whose path is also music, when he was 8 years old, he started playing the piano, and as he grew up, he thought that 8 was way too late to start. But at 8, he never, ever, ever had to be told to practice. He was our alarm clock. He would be on the piano at 7 in the morning. Always, always. And now when he's preparing for a show, he'll practice 5 to 8 hours a day until he gets it in his hands. And so in the book, and I've heard this also other places, that it takes 10,000 hours to become proficient in something. And when you have practiced it for 10,000 hours, then you begin to be useful. So it's a process. We don't get masterful in a weekend. You know, you take a weekend course in calligraphy, and no. It's that, you know, you put 10,000 hours into it, and then you become useful. So I was thinking of my own life, and that's one of the reasons that I go back to England all the time, is that it's part of my practice. You know, I have to sit in Stonehenge and some of these other stone circles. It's part of my path. And then I thought about doing the talk. I mean, I don't know how many talks I have done since 1989, when I became a minister. You know, it's pretty much one a week. Although I take some Sundays off, it's still pretty much one a week. And people have said, oh, well, you've got lots of talks. You can just do an old one, right? I want you to know I've never done an old one. I've never done an old one. I've never done an old one because I'm in a new place on the path. Something else to say comes through. So although you've heard some of my stories before, you haven't heard them in the same context. So it's simple. Find what you love and do it. That's it. That's the whole message. And this is how Ernest Holmes says it in one of his wonderful meditations in the back of the textbook. By some inner mystic presence, I was told to live and to love, to laugh and be glad. I was told to be still and know of the one almighty power in and through all. I was told to let that power work through me and in me. I believed that voice, and I received my good. So that's it. It's so simple. But it's not always easy. And that's the next one. Meeting challenges. And in Bodhi's book, this section is called Challenges on the Path. So what happens with your Tao, your path, is that it becomes your personal growth path. It's not only your path to delight, it's your path to growth. And we know that growth means something changes in you. There is a seeming lack in each one of us because a challenge is in front of us and we're not up to it. But we don't stay that way. If we keep on the path, we become up to it. That's the whole point of growth. That's the whole point of challenges. They're not there to frustrate us. They're there to steer us on the pathway. So we have accomplishments, we have setbacks, we have growth. And then we repeat. We have accomplishments, we have setbacks, and we have growth. And it's all okay. In fact, it's better than okay. It's the plan. It's what we do. It's what we do here on earth. So your principle, whatever your guiding principle is, will offer you your curriculum, which will grow you. So here I want Bodhi to come up, and this is where you read page 45, that essay on page 45. I love this. So we have the author reading to us now.
I can't wait to see what it says. By the way, I do want to give a special shout out of thanks to Bob Gordon for retrieving the painting that I left at home just in time. Noble effort.
See, we get help on our path. That's the great thing. We get helpers.
And to Mary for dreaming up the altar and inviting me to participate.
Mary Cosgrove, beautiful altar.
Okay, machines are everywhere. Machines are everywhere on planet Earth. Even in the most remote areas, airplanes can be heard flying overhead. In urban settings, there are thousands of mechanical and electrical devices all around us. They all hum. Many people today are finding it difficult to adapt to all the new electromagnetic frequencies in our environment. All machines have a rhythm inside their functioning. A good mechanic can tell what is right and what is wrong by the tones and tempo of the music of the machine. They all vibrate and create patterns that send waves out into the universe. Our ears are incredibly sensitive to the subtle differences between sounds. Wherever I am, I can tune into the notes of airplanes, cars, tractors, computers, etc. What appears at first to be a cacophony of noise eventually melts into an orchestra of extreme complexity. As a young man, I had a short-term job working at an old-time printing press. I was printing names on Christmas cards. All day long, I would change the name block, insert the chosen holiday card, and watch the paper fly through the machine. The only way I could manage the boredom was by dancing or singing along with the groove. Even though the other employees considered me a bit strange, I got to know the tempo of that machine. Even to this day, I can drift back and feel the clickety-clack of that collection of precise metal parts, all working together in harmonious production. I can also feel a relaxation in my bones when the run was over and I could step outside to breathe the air and smell the trees. Perhaps the printing press was also relieved to be done for the day and could rest for the night. Postscript. With the money I earned from this employment, I flew to South America and studied the pan flute music of the Andes. Even here in the rural mountains, there were large trucks everywhere, transporting people and goods from village to village. I traveled around listening to pan flutes and spent some time learning how to make them from a local craftsman at a market at the train station. He fell in love with my circular pitch pipe for testing the tuning of instruments I wanted to purchase. I gave it to him just before returning home from my travels. Perhaps other travelers to his town in search of exotic but Western-tuned instruments benefited from his ownership of this music tool.
Isn't that beautiful? Yep. So the challenges, and it's not just the challenges of, well, that was a lovely story about the printing press. You know, I imagine it seemed challenging at first, but then it became part of Bodhi's path. And for us, the challenges might be really stressful conditions. And I'm saying this because when we have stressful conditions on our path, it's not that our path is wrong. It's that we are being challenged to grow. So it could be a period of stagnation where nothing happens. Or it could be conditions that are so horrible that, the worst things that happen in our life happen on our path. Betrayal and loss. And a feeling of there's a huge, huge block in the middle of my path. What do I do? And so, the darkest time in my career ever, what a very wise leader said to me, it is public humiliation is spiritually useful. Stay the course. And I did. And I proved that to be true. And I got through it. And that, I can look back on my path and say I am blessed for every single thing that has happened, because things don't just happen to aggravate us. They are on the path for our own growth. So our path is good for us. And if we are in that place of being challenged so significantly that we really don't know what to do next, you just go back to number 2, and that's becoming useful and practice. That's all you, when you find your guiding principle, when you find your path, you always know what to do. You just keep practicing. You just keep showing up. You just keep doing what you know you took birth to do. Because when you get on the other side of the challenge, then you get to this, which is achieving unconscious competence. And in the book, the section is called One with the Path. So let me explain unconscious competence. Because when we start out with a challenge and we absolutely do not know how to do something, we are in conscious incompetence. It's in front of us. We know it's ours to do, and we have no idea how to do it, and we know we are incompetent. But then we practice, 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 and then there's a big growth step, and we become consciously, no. First, we're unconsciously incompetent. We have something to do, and we don't know how to do it, but we don't even know it. Then we have the conscious incompetence, where we know we have to learn it and we don't know what we're doing. Then we have the big growth spurt, and then we have conscious competence. We know we've mastered it, and we know how to do it, and we do it. And then we reach unconscious competence, where we just do it automatically because it has become a part of us. Now, I kind of mangled that, but do you get the drift, you know? You start out not knowing you don't know, then you know you don't know, then you know, and then you just do it as a dance, as a part of the beautiful dance on the path that you're on. So what happens is we achieve a level of mastery, and when we practice for a long, 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 long time, sometimes, we get to unconscious competence. And these skills are always cumulative. So you're finding your path, you're practicing on your path, you're going through challenges, and then you get to absolute competence. And then your vision gets bigger and bigger, and this is my little piece to read from Bodhi's book, and that is, if you are a composer of music, a creator of art, or a business person with a mission and a purpose, try infusing your work with positive intentions for the world. And so when we get to unconscious competence, we know how to do it for ourselves, and so to stay engaged, we bless our work for the whole wide world, and our path becomes good for us and good for the world. And then when we get there, we go to this last piece, which is going beyond, and in the book, it's called Letting Go of the Path. So we have a degree of mastery. We love what we do. We stay engaged, and what happens is we get gifts from the universe, kind of like prizes for doing our path so well. And I'd like Bodhi to read about the little boy in the coffee shop, and that's on page 75, the first 2 paragraphs.
This is fun. By the way, a little shout out to Francine Huss for being my editor on this book. Yay. She caught some amazing little things that were just quite like pivots in a machine, you know, that unlock a whole new area. Okay, relax in the quilence. When a 9-year-old boy comes up to you and says he made up a new word, it's best to pay attention. I was relaxing in the local coffee shop, reading my book in progress. A man stood by me, waiting in line to use the restroom. I could tell he might be there for a bit, so I offered him my book to entertain himself. This is true, actually. Coffee Roastery in Fairfax. As he was reading, his son bounced up and asked if I wanted to hear the new word he made up. I said, yes, of course. He said, quilence, the quiet in the silence. I was stunned. All my life I have been dancing between these two words, seeking a bridge that crosses the gap and spans the chasm. I asked him, can I use that word in my new book? He said, sure, and ran off before I could engage him further. His dad and I just acknowledged each other with that familiar look of out of the mouths of babes.
Oh, isn't that great? So this is a real feel-good book. You're going to want your copy. So for me, I was looking for an example of a gift from the universe that didn't quite look like a gift at the beginning, because that's what happens sometimes too. And, you know, I've been wanting, I'm about a third of the way through writing my next book. And I really, really wanted time to do this. And so, you know, in the summertime, I host tours to England. And because of the sign-ups, the first tour didn't make. But I kind of already had my reservations. And so I get to spend like 10 days with my friends in England with nothing to do. And so I should have a big, big bunch of this book written by the time you see me at the end of June. So I'm very, very excited about that gift from the universe. So this is your map. This is your map. Find your path, practice, love those challenges, get competent, receive the gifts from the universe, and keep on giving. So, you know, this the thematic structure of this whole year is given to us by the CSL home office. You know, everybody is sort of doing the same thing, but nobody else gets Bodhi's launch except us. But the quote for this week is pretty amazing, and that is another gift from the universe. This is it. We see a world in which we are called to conscious action. Now, I imagine that in a lot of the CSL communities, they're going to talk about social action, about we live our principles and we are moved to take action in the world, to walk our talk, in other words. But for us here, it works perfectly with the consideration of the Tao, because we don't just think on our path. A path is meant for walking. And so when we walk the path, we are acting. And if we are on our path in a conscious way, we are filled with conscious action. And so this is just another way of how the universe harmonizes us all when we're all in our right place. And we have to be in our right place, and the scheduling of this book launch fits right into the divine scheme of things. And that's what happens with each of you as well when you live within your guiding principle. Every action that is called forth from you is for the good. So in conclusion, I actually went to the Tao Te Ching. And I have a quote for you from the Tao Te Ching. And before I read it, I want a little translation for you to think of, because it talks about bad people in this quote. And so, of course, this was Lao Tzu's translation. And I'll just read it with the word unskilled, because that's how I think of when somebody mistreats me, that they're unskilled. So here's from the Tao Te Ching. A good person is an unskilled person's teacher. An unskilled person is a good person's work. It is a grave mistake to disrespect your teacher. It is a grave mistake not to love your work. This is an important insight from Lao Tzu. So, our spiritual principles today, coming right back to our own spiritual tradition. The first one is this: each one of us has gifts to give to the world. And the next one is the world and we ourselves are blessed when we give our gifts. Those are the principles we worked with today from Science of Mind. And this is your homework. Your homework is to find your guiding principle. And with that, let's go into the inner work. And so, as we move into an awareness of the truth that has been spoken today, I know that each one of us has a path that is unfolding before us. The path is the Tao. Each one of us has our own path. I'd like you to imagine the path before you. It may be well trod. It may be speckled with light. It may have odd little musical interludes on it. All of our path has the odd musical interludes. It's the sweet little pixies in the machines that are loving Bodhi. The path is our teacher. The path is sacred to each one of us. And the path is also our work. Our teacher, our work, and our gift. It is all the same. And as we step on our path, and the prayer this morning before you all came, before anyone was here except the volunteers, the prayer for each one of you this morning was that everyone would recognize their next step on the path. And so if you have already received what is your next step, just give thanks for it. And if you have not received the next step on your path, open to it now. And whatever is revealed to you, whether it's go home and wash the dishes or go home and feed the cat, whatever is that spiritual guidance, that is your next step. And your personal responsibility is to say yes. Because as you say yes to that divine guidance, and as you take the next step on your path, the next and the next and the next will be revealed. And the Tao will become illumined. And you will be brought to God and a deeper sense of your own worth, your inestimable worth on this earth plane. Blessed be to each and all, and so it is.